the idea that we're smarter than others. I mean, Fraser and all those late 19th century figures, early 20th century figures, had the view that we've risen above the sort of animistic superstition, and then you get religion, which is a bit better, not much better, and then you go beyond that to science, and then you realize all that stuff basically childish rubbish we've grown out of. So I think that that's how we've got here, and I think it does take quite a lot of effort, as I say, for people to maintain that belief. And I suppose that you would map some of this, I'm just guessing, onto activities of different parts of the brain.
Yes, maybe. I mean, before we go there, though, you raised a number of... actually, it takes more effort to deny. It's not true that, as Dawkins suggests, that we are indoctrinated into religion. In fact, it's the opposite, that it takes more cognitive effort to inhibit these ideas. That doesn't mean that they're wrong, of course, but it is interesting that some people, especially people with autism, are something like 10 times more likely to be atheistic. The normal brain is actually allowing us to, if we will not suppress it, to experience the sort of things that you're talking about. I think this is the natural state, to see ourselves as in connection with the world. And you get in panpsychism, maybe the answer is everything's got consciousness in it, but then how do we recompose it? You know, how do we put this together? It's actually called the combination problem. This is typical of the left hemisphere, which, having first of all ruptured a unity, then doesn't know how to, quote, recreate the unity, but the unity is there. The unity is primary. So I think that kind of panpsychism is somewhat irrational and left hemisphere dominated. Now, you've brought me to the position where, of course, I've mentioned hemispheres. and I should say to anybody listening that my position is not that the brain creates our experience at all. I believe that, in fact, the brain is a permitter of experience that shapes it, much as the vocal cords, as William James pointed out, are what shape his voice. A restriction, a constriction, an inhibition, a negation, some kind of moulding or no-saying to the breath that would come through. If there was no such moulding or permitting, then there would be no voice at all. But coming to brain correlates, mindfulness, meditation in general, and shamanism, religious experiences of certain kinds. The overwhelming evidence is that this requires a shift of balance away from the normal slight bias towards the left hemisphere. In these experiences, one finds that this imbalance, if you like, is redressed, and not only redressed, but that these kinds of experience are very clearly right hemisphere related. So in a culture which I believe promotes the values of the left hemisphere, sees the world as particulate, made up of isolated things that are fixed, that are unchanging, inanimate, abstracted, explicit, there is no room for this kind of experience. All the sort of things that you need in order to open your mind to the existence of a divine being are militated against by the natural mode of the left hemisphere, which is to pin things down, to look for certainty, to focus on the explicit rather than the implicit, to see things as naturally inanimate rather than animate, and to be all the time cataloguing and charting experience as on a map, or having a theory about it, rather than actually allowing experience to come to you. To do that, you've got to have an opposite cast of mind, which is in fact the cast of mind that the right hemisphere enables for us in daily life, which is the voice of a way of seeing things in which there is no final certainty. Nothing is finally separated from anything else. Nothing is ever completely fixed. It's always moving, changing and flowing. All the really important stuff cannot be put into language. Anybody who's been in love knows how incredibly feeble the language is to deal with this extraordinary experience. And of course, any of you who are listening who are persuaded that there is a spiritual realm, a divine realm that you can have intimations of, this again is beyond conceptual reduction in language. The right hemisphere enables us to be more willing to accept paradox, to accept things that are not certain, and this is the realm where we find the spiritual life.